Hi guys, today is day 8. Can we count it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Day 8. I'm going to read 2 stories as usual, and I think we're going to get started with this book here. It is called You're All My Favorites. Sam McBratney and illustrated by Anita Jaram. Do we remember what illustrated means? It's the person who draws the pictures for the books, right? Okay, so here we go. A first baby bear. A second baby bear. And a third baby bear. Whoever tucked them in at night always said the same thing to them. You are the most wonderful baby bears in the whole wide world. One night, after Mommy Bear had tucked them in, and after she had said, "You are the most wonderful baby bears in the whole wide world," the baby bears began to wonder. "But how do you know?" they asked their Mommy Bear. "How do you know we are the most wonderful baby bears in the whole wide world?" "Because your daddy told me," said Mommy Bear. "When your daddy saw you on the night you were born, he said, and I remember it very well, he said, 'Those are the nicest baby bears I have ever seen. They are the nicest baby bears anyone has ever seen.'" That was a good answer. The 3 baby bears snuggled down as content as could be. But one day the first baby bear began to think. He wondered if the other 2 bears were nicer than he was. They had patches after all, and he did not. Maybe his mommy really liked patches. And the second baby bear began to wonder. Maybe Daddy loves the other 2 more than me, she thought. They were boy bears after all, and she was not. And the third baby bear began to worry. I'm only the littlest, he thought. Everybody's bigger than me. So that night, the 3 baby bears asked their daddy bear, "Which one of us do you like the most? Who is your favorite? We can't all be the best." "Yes, you can," said Daddy Bear, "and I know you can because I heard your mommy say so. When she saw you," and Daddy Bear picked up the first baby bear to give him a cuddle, she said, "That is the most perfect baby bear that anyone has ever seen." "Even with patches?" "Patches don't matter at all," replied his daddy as he tucked him in. "And when your mommy saw you," Daddy Bear picked up the second baby bear. She said, "That is the most perfect second baby bear that anyone has ever seen. Even if I'm not a boy?" Girl or boy, it makes no difference, said her daddy, and he hugged her tight. And when your mommy saw you, Daddy Bear lifted the last baby bear into his arms. She said, "That is the most perfect third baby bear that anyone has ever seen. Even if I'm the littlest, bigly or littly, we love you just the same. So there, 3 favorites. You're all my favorites." And the best baby bears in the whole wide world went to sleep as happily as could be, because that was a good answer too. What a nice story. Mommies and daddies love you guys all the same. All right, next story. I figured this is a good one because spring is here. Do we remember what kind of weather we see in spring? The sun starts to come out a little bit more, but sometimes we see the clouds too, and the clouds bring what in springtime? Do we remember, guys? It's not snow, it's rain. And what happens when the ground gets wet in the rain? Sometimes it can get a little bit muddy. So today we're going to read a story that's called Mud Puddle. It's by Robert Munch and it's illustrated by Dusan Petrikic. I think I pronounced that right. And we remember that illustrated means that this is the person who drew the pictures. Robert Munch is the person who wrote the story. Are we ready? Okay. Julianne's mother bought her Julianne's mother bought her clean new clothes. Juliana put on a clean new shirt and buttoned it up the front. She put on clean new pants and buttoned them up the front. Then she walked outside and sat down under the apple tree. Unfortunately, hiding up in the apple tree, there was a mud puddle. It saw Julianne sitting there, and it jumped right on her head. She got completely all over muddy. Even her ears were full of mud. Julianne ran inside, yelling, "Mommy, Mommy, a mud puddle jumped on me." Her mother picked her up, took off all of her clothes, and dropped her into a tub of water. She scrubbed Julianne till she was red all over. She washed out her ears, she washed out her eyes, she even washed out her mouth. Julianne put on a clean new shirt and buttoned it up the front. She put on clean new pants and buttoned them up the front. Then she looked out the back door. She couldn't see a mud puddle anywhere, so she walked outside and sat in her sandbox. The sandbox was next to the house. And hiding up on top of the house, there was a mud puddle. It saw Julianne sitting down there and it jumped right on her head. She got completely all over muddy. Even her nose was full of mud. Oh boy. Julianne ran inside yelling, "Mommy, Mommy, a mud puddle jumped on me." Julianne's mother picked her up, took off all of her clothes, dropped her into a tub of water. She scrubbed Julianne till she was red all over. She washed out her ears, she washed out her eyes, she washed out her mouth, and she washed out her nose. Julianne put on a clean new shirt and buttoned it up the front. Then she put on clean new pants and buttoned them up the front. Then she had an idea. She reached way back in the closet and got a big yellow raincoat. She put it on and walked outside. There was no mud puddle anywhere, so she yelled, "Hey, mud puddle!" Nothing happened, so she yelled even louder, "Hey, mud puddle!" Julianne was standing in the sunshine in her raincoat, getting very hot. She pulled her hood back. Nothing happened. She took off her raincoat. As soon as she took off her raincoat, out from behind the doghouse, there came the mud puddle. It ran across the grass and jumped right on Julianne's head. She got completely all over muddy. Look at this. Oh my goodness, it ran right after her. Julianne ran inside yelling, "Mommy, Mommy, a mud puddle jumped on me." Her mother picked her up, took off all of her clothes, and dropped her into a tub full of water. She scrubbed Julianne till she was red all over. She washed out her ears. She washed out her eyes. She washed out her mouth. She washed out her nose. She even washed out her belly button. Julianne put on a clean new shirt and buttoned it up the front. She put on clean new pants and buttoned them up the front. Then she sat by the back door because she was afraid to go outside. Then she had an idea. She reached up to the sink and took a bar of smelly yellow soap. She gave it a smell. Eek! She took another bar of smelly yellow soap and gave it a smell. Eek! She put the smelly yellow soap in her pockets. Then she ran out into the middle of the backyard and yelled, "Hey, mud puddle!" The mud puddle jumped over the fence and ran right toward her. Julianne threw a bar of soap right into the mud puddle's middle. The mud puddle stopped. Julianne threw another bar of soap right into the mud puddle. The mud puddle said, "Ah, ee, whack!" It ran across the grass, jumped over the fence, and never came back. That was a great story. I love that story. Have you guys ever had a mud puddle run after you? I don't think so. That was a very creative story. Usually what happens is the rain comes, the ground gets wet, and then if the grass is really wet, the mud is underneath, and that's where we might see some mud puddles. It usually doesn't jump on top of us. We might slip and fall because it's wet, and then we get all muddy and have to come inside and say, "Mommy, Mommy, I fell in the mud," and get changed and get washed up. Okay, that's the story for today. Later on today, we're going to do something artsy. And we also need to change our calendar because it is a new month. Yesterday was the last day of March, which means we have a new month and we need to get our days set into the calendar. So we'll do that too. So I'll see you a little bit later. Bye, guys.